missed the two names. You pardon me for that if I've done that.
Just go
Dr.
ahead, sir.
Ajishegiri, okay, Dr. Ajishegiri, and our I think I've seen Engineer Oluleye there, Professor Oluleye, and other distinguished alumni, distinguished guests, our speaker, the policy makers and industrial leaders, my colleagues and friends. It is my profound honor to welcome you to today's lecture, which is critical. Inter-trade African and logistics. As we know, African stands as a transformative moment. With the African Continental Free Trade Area that we have, which is creating world largest single market, we have an unprecedented opportunity to actually rewrite our economic destiny. Yet, the potential of intra-African trade remains stifled because of some persistent challenges. Amongst them has to do with the fragmented logistics networks, the inefficiencies of our border, some infrastructural gaps, and of course, some hurdles that has to do with regulations. And today, we are here to discuss some of these challenges, not only to discuss them, but also to ignite our solutions to some of the problems that have been identified. And I'm sure that our speaker today is going to share insights into how we can turn some of our vision into action. You will also be able to explore how we can build seamless corridors of commerce, harness digital technologies, and of course, foster the public-private partnership so that we can move our goods and services and prosperity across our borders. I want to challenge each and every one of us to be able to engage actively. Let's ask questions. Let's also share experiences and let us collaborate. The success of AFCFTA hinges on our collective will to be able to reimagine logistics as the backbone of African integration. So on this note, I want to thank you and wish you happy listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, Professor S.O. Ismaila, for that opening remarks. We want to move quickly to the goodwill messages from our special guest of honor and other guests of honor we have in the house tonight. Our special guest of honor tonight is Chief Dare Babarisa, CON, the chairman, Gaskia Media Limited, who is also joining us tonight. Is a father and is a media mongoose, and I believe his own wealth of experience, having traveled wide, will also give credence to the topic for discussion tonight. So, without wasting time, Chief, please, the floor is yours, sir.
I'm happy to be here. I think I have 5 minutes, Abi.
Yes,
I
sir.
have 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes, Abi.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I thank the Faculty of Industrial Engineering for inviting me to this special occasion. I would like to start from something that we are all familiar with. The invention of boundaries is a modern one. Before the 20th century, there were no boundaries. Every kingdom extend as far as it can stretch its influence. And people travel far and wide. Those who do trans-Saharan trade did not need any visa to cross from one territory to another. So modernity has brought challenges to us. Now we as Africans, we need to now see how we can harness what we have to get what we want. We know that Africans, generally, we live on this continent, but we prefer to travel and trade with people in other continents. And there can be no wealth without trading. Therefore, what the Faculty of Engineering is trying to do, which is to link up our continent, is very, very good. And we have to try from the simpler ones, which is open up our borders, uniting our currencies, and ensuring that our people are able to see each other face to face. Secondly, is that we should know that in this modern world, technology has made borders to disappear. Where we are discussing now is technology. And if people are joining us from the US, from Japan, they will also be with us in this electronics auditorium. So it is for us to use what we have, technology, especially the one being developed by the University of Ibadan, to ensure that Africans can trade, the African can create wealth, that Africans can interact with each other beyond the artificial boundaries created by colonial authorities. So these are my few remarks. I hope that you will use the intellectual capital that you have, and also engage those of us who are what you call the town, who would like to be part of that endeavor to ensure that the aspiration of the founding fathers of African independence, those who created the Organization of African Unity, that is now AU, those who said ECOWAS will become a trading zone where people can interact, that all these aspirations will come to pass. As of now, after so many years, ECOWAS countries are still not, we don't still have one single currency. So let us start from what is on ground to create what we want. I'm happy to be here, and I hope that the knowledge that will be shared on this platform will be useful not only to Nigerians, but Africa as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief. We really appreciate that wealth of knowledge you shared with us and your goodwill message to the Department of Industrial and Production Engineering. I must mention that Chief is also a brother to one of our foremost alumni, Engineer Afolabi Babarisa, who is also on the call tonight. It's a pleasure having you tonight too, sir. We want to quickly move to our other guests of honor we have in the house tonight for their own goodwill message. And Dr. Joseph Atta, I don't think he's on the call yet. I think he will join us later from the NUC. So we'll quickly move on to the next person to give us the goodwill message tonight, which is Dr. A.O. Ojelabi, who is currently the director, ITCC, that's the Industrial Training Coordinating Center, the ham responsible for sending students on industrial attachment across the country, and the former director of academic planning, University of Ibadan. He is also my director. My director, sir, you are welcome tonight to IPEA, the 34th edition. Please, the floor is yours for your goodwill message, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. The chairman, Professor Ismaila, has established a protocol which I'm willing to lean on. But I must recognize the special guest of honor. That is the respected Chief Dari Babarisa, CON.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure having this type of gathering. And I want to thank the head of department, Professor Oladokun, and the entire staff of Department of Industrial Production Engineering, who are the organizer of this event. Let me say that I count it as a privilege to be part of this discussion, to be invited as a guest of honor at this 34th IPAA Alumni Lecture Series, which is focusing on intra-Africa trade and logistics. Let me start by appreciating and commending the organizers for this type of initiative that the department is taking for inviting or initiating this type of discourse and for sustaining the series for about 33 or 34 months running now. That's about 3 years running now. Such efforts serve to inspire, to ignite the commitment of the alumni to their alma mater and to motivate current students to see the potential in them and the profession that they have chosen. I must also appreciate the staff and students and the alumni for keeping faith with this initiative for 34 months running. What our guest speaker will be discussing tonight is thought-provoking. And I must say that I hope that it will challenge all in attendance, whether as policymakers, industry players, lecturers, students, for us to see beyond the current political and economic challenges in our nation and continent, and to envision the potential that lie in African countries collaborating together, engaging in trade exchange to forge economic progress. I've listened to what Chief Babarisa just said now, that in those days there were no boundaries. But even though technology, or even though modernity has created boundaries, technology is breaking down the boundaries again. So we must see Africa as a land of potential, filled with inestimable vast resources, both human and natural. And this presents opportunities for innovation and collaboration. Unfortunately, when we talk about intra-African trade, statistics tells us that it is less than 20% of our total trade as African nation, which is one of the lowest globally. Now, this is one reason I cannot agree less with this topic, that this is a clarion call for strategic action. Otherwise, we will remain tied to the apron string of the colonial powers and colonial masters, and we continue to lose our best brain to them because we fail to tap and optimize our ability to collaborate and engage in intertrade among African nations. And of course, trade creates wealth. So I want to say that as we engage in this discourse, I believe that the speaker is going to address some of the challenges that hinder the engagement in intra-trade. But then I want to urge all participants, including students, to endeavor to connect with the spirit and the letter of the presentation. We must leave this meeting with something challenging our mind, heightening our vision, and increasing our horizon. We must be purposeful and intentional about contributing our quota to the realization of this roadmap for Africa's future. The challenges are there, the boundaries are there are logistic problems, there are infrastructure, there are cross-border trade problems, but all these can be tackled headlong if we are committed and we are serious and we're able to foresee the kind of power that lies in unity, in collaborating. With this, I welcome all and wish all of us a happy deliberation. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for that well opening remarks and goodwill message. And I hope we will all take a cue to from what has been said. It's looking at the topic already, it's as if our special guest of honor have already even started speaking to the topic at hand already. Well, I believe our guest speaker tonight, Engineer Rauf Badejo, will speak a lot more to that tonight. We want to quickly read the citation of our guest speaker tonight, but before we read this citation tonight, I quickly did a search this afternoon to look at what the volume of trade Nigeria does with South Africa compared to Europe, Asian countries like China or the West. And I saw that it's just a fraction. In short, we did like just $1 billion as compared to $20 billion with China and about 13 billion with the US. And that shows the challenges that Africa is not trading within Africa. We are trading with the rest of the world, yet there are a lot of potentials within Africa. And like all our resource persons, guest speakers have said tonight, It is time that we bring down these boundaries. We could play our part, whether in policy, in engaging, even traveling to see what other countries of Africa have to offer, and fostering this unity amongst African nations. It all starts with us. And with that, I once again welcome those that have just joined us tonight at the 34th Alumni Lecture Series. The topic we are discussing is Intra-Africa Trade and Logistics. So, to read the citation of our guest speaker tonight is one of his classmates, Dr. G.O. or Dr. Ganiu Ajishegiri. He will be the one having the honor to read the citation of our guest speaker tonight. Over to you, Dr. Ajishegiri.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening, sirs. I'll say all protocols duly observed, and I greet all our lecturers in the department, our fathers that are present. I will not waste much of our time. It's just 2 slides, and I will stick to the 5 minutes. So, Engineer Raouf Badijo has been in supply chain for over 20 years. He has experience in supply chain and logistics. And his expertise cut across FMCG, manufacturing, and logistics. Also, he operates across the sub-Saharan Africa, and currently is the Group Chief Supply Chain Officer, GZ Industry Limited. In his current role, he leads as a strategic and operational execution of the supply chain, where he covers West, East, South Africa, and Mauritius. It drives end-to-end supply chain innovation and efficiency. Over the year of his working as a logistic person, he has worked in different companies, a multinational company. He works in Maersk, Kimia, Vamel, PZ, and Nestle, where we work together. Also, we work together in Nestle. Also, his expertise, as I've said, is in the following areas: supply chain solution development, operational efficiency and process optimization, procurement strategy, sustainable logistics, and impact delivery in complex markets. His academic background is basically in industrial and production engineering. Is part of the 2005 and 6 set. And also he had his master's in supply chain and logistic management. While he was in Nestle, he moved to the UK to study in University of Warwick, and he came back to Nestle again because the company also really likes his expertise, and he graduated with distinction. So he's going to do some executive education, like in Lagos Business School, in MIT and other international institutions. Also, he has some affiliations, and one of it is he's a chartered member of Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply Chain in the UK. Thank you, and welcome our lecturer for today, our guest speaker for today, Engineer Raouf Badijo. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ajishegiri. Over to you, our guest speaker. Please, can we welcome our guest speaker tonight with a resounding applause? I know you may not be able to clap where you are, but you can use the emojis there. So you are welcome, Engineer Raouf Badijo. Over to you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I feel really honored and privileged to be here today presenting. I would like to stand on existing protocol, but I think with that, I would still like to recognize some special name I'm seeing here tonight. Please let me know when you see my screen. I'm trying to share from here. I don't think it's coming up yet. Is my screen visible?
Yes,
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So I would like to recognize the special guest of honor. I mean, this is a name I've been reading about. It's an honor to be in the same call with you, sir. Thank you so much. The director of ITCC, Dr. Ayo Jolabi, I think you spoke so much to the topic at hand already. I mean, I think I'm here to learn more from you. From the way you talk, it looks like you understand this topic far more than myself, and I'm not surprised at all. I would like to recognize Professor Olule if he's in the call. It's one of our special lecturer. I mean, that taught us to be able to stand here today. Professor Fio Oladokun, I really appreciate you, and Professor or Dr. Engineer Kodari, and everyone. So anyone whose name I don't mention, please never mind. I mean, okay, I'll start going through this slide now. Intra-Africa trade, as we understand, there's a side of this trade, there's the commercial side of it, and there's the logistic part of it. So tonight, I would like to focus more on the logistics part of it, because this is where my expertise lies. So to do this, I'll try to make a case study. So I've decided not to mention the exact company whose name I'm going to be talking about tonight, but this is a multinational company in Nigeria. It's an FMCG company with presence in Nigeria, Europe, and Asia. It's located in the Agbara part of Lagos, or Ogun State, and they have an asset worth $250 million. An employee of over 300,000. This company manufactures and distributes pan-Nigeria, right? And if you look at their inputs materials, about 60% of it is imported. I mean, and I think this is the case for most manufacturing companies in Nigeria. We are heavily import reliant. And the company play also in the commodity market, and commodity, as it is, means it's very competitive. It means if you are not, your customer are price sensitive, the alternative to your product is not a monopoly. If your product is too costly, they go for an alternative immediately. What are the challenges we face in this company? So this particular company has a capacity to produce and supply the entire Nigerian market. But because it's a commodity market, there's competition, is not, of course, able to utilize its full capacity, which means it's got what we call for cost recovery. So it's got high cost, but of course, to be able to break even and make profit, you have to be able to do more volume. And looking at the Nigerian market is already choked, so he has no option. I mean, the company has no option than to start to look outside of Nigeria. The imported materials into the country, of course, because I said it's 60% import reliant, 25% of all the materials coming in, by the time you look at the cost, is 25% costlier than what it will have been for its other operations that it's got in Europe and in Asia. And because it's a global company, of course, you benchmark this, you can see that this is my landed cost in Nigeria, this is the landed cost in Vietnam, this is the landed cost in Spain, for example. So they're able to see their costs across all of this. Nigeria is far more expensive. And it's not expensive because they are buying more expensive. It's more expensive because of the logistic costs of getting into the country, clearing, delivery to this company plant in Nigeria. Right. The other thing is the distribution cost. Distribution is, I mean, after the production is done, then for the company to get a product to their different customers pan Nigeria, it's costing 20% more than it will have cost for in other countries where they operate to deliver this product to their customers. Now, in Nigeria, they face a different issue again, which we normally call gray imports. So this is sometimes, as a manufacturer in Nigeria, you go to the market, you see your own product produced in other countries, right? But it's cheaper than your own that you are producing in Nigeria. So which means your market is getting really, really diluted, of course. Now, after facing all of this challenge, as a businessman, looking at all the investment, then we look for outside. How do we ensure that this company improve his cost recovery. Basically, while keeping the same fixed cost, while keeping the same cost that you have, you try to look for more market to spread your cost across. And the only option left is to go outside of Nigeria. And where else can you go than other African countries, neighbor countries? And first thing you realize very quickly is that you're within Africa, trying to deliver within Africa, as close as they are geographically, your cost of freight, your ocean freight, it's far more expensive than what it is for the rest of the world. The transit times are disproportionately longer. You will expect that moving from Nigeria to Ghana, you should be able to do it in less than a day. If a truck can do it in 2 days or even the same day, by sea maximum, let's say you do 1 week. You'll be surprised how long it takes to deliver from Nigeria to Ghana, from Nigeria to Douala, from Nigeria to across the coast of West Africa, not to now talk of going to South Africa. So we are getting things like transit time of 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, even more, right? Also costlier to export within Africa. To export from Nigeria to South Africa, for example, on the item of in question, we are paying 10 to 15%. Meanwhile, if the same item is imported into South Africa from Europe, it pays 0%. And this is because there are different trade bloc and bilateral agreements between South Africa and some of these nations, which they do not have with Nigeria or other West African countries. So making products coming from outside of Africa far cheaper to South Africa. So that's it's the other problem. In the West Africa, I mean, if you are already in West Africa, there's ETLS, which all ECOWAS countries benefit from. So if you get that ETLS, you're able to transact within West Africa zero duty for in most of the cases. But once you go outside West Africa, it becomes really difficult. So if you to go into East Africa, you have the EAC, you have the COMESA. To South Africa, you have SADC. So Africa is so fragmented such that each unit, each region of Africa has got its own trade agreement, such that to break into that, in fact, coming from Africa, you are worse than coming from Asia or Europe. That is the other thing. Now, when we then consider other options, most of these, when we talk about the transit time, is because we are looking at the sea option. Then we look at the landed, the borders, the road borders. What you quickly discover that number one, apart from that being unreliable security issues, in the time in question was also closed. The border were closed so that you could not do any transaction through the road. Clearing at the border, if you are going by road again, even if the border were open, you have to go through so many borders. And at each of the borders, there is a transit clearing that you have to do, such that you see on average within Africa, you see shipments, especially West Africa or East Africa, you see your shipment spending 10 days at one point trying to undergo clearing, trying to undergo transit clearing, not even at the final destination, but at the transit location. There are security challenges which are also there. So all of this put together make it difficult for this company in question to proceed. At this point, they started to consider it time for us to close down manufacturing and start to import. Because if you're already competing with imports, why don't you go to import? But if this happens, what are they going to lose? The whole asset of $250 million will go to waste. Over 300,000 employee will, 300 employee will probably have to be jobless. And then it's then throw more people into the market. Right. So looking specifically more into the shipping routes and costs within Africa. If you look at the blue line, if you can see clearly, what the blue line is, it's just an example of shipment that we made. Not for that particular shipment. This is coming from my experience working with the shipping line. So there's a particular customer. It's they make is a big multinational in Nigeria. What they make is alcoholic beverages. On this route, they've got office in Cameroon.
Hello, yeah. Engineer, let me interrupt you. It appears your slide is not moving.
Okay.
go to presentation first because I've just been seeing only the first slides. Engineer Padere, you can make Dr. Atai co-host. He's not in the house. Thank you.
I'm trying to share all over again. It will move this time. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, we can see now.
Put it in presentation mode.
It's already in presentation mode. You should be seeing African shipping routes and costs.
Yes, from where? From Nigeria.
Yeah, we see a case study of PVK Nigeria. That's the title.
No, it's not moving.
I know that's not what you were intending to share.
I think you should place it in a slideshow.
Place in slideshow. Just click the slideshow and see. Yeah, let's see whether that will work.
Is it better? Are you seeing something different?
No, slideshow up.
Yeah, we can see African shipping now.
I just click click that slideshow. Let's activate that. It's okay.
Are you seeing my screen now? African shipping routes and costs.
Yes.
Yes.
I can see.
Okay. Okay. So as I was saying, this is an example of how complex or how long and how costly it is to move shipments within Africa. If you see the blue line, it's a shipment from Apapa to Douala. And if you look at the geography of South Africa, Cameroon is next neighbor to Nigeria, right? If you go by road between the borders, you get there in a matter of hours. Now, this shipment made in from Apapa to Douala took 40 days.
Wow.
It took 40 days, and it moves forth from Apapa to Lomé, transshipped to another vessel, which then moves to Point Noir in Congo. Then from DRC, moved to Douala. All of this took 40 plus days, right? And in this case, it's sorghum. By the time the container landed in the factory at the warehouse of the customer, by the time they open it, it's weevils, it's all damaged containers. It's not usable. And we are talking about over 100 containers of sorghum moved from a multinational beverage company in Nigeria, a alcoholic company, to its counterpart in Cameroon. And this landed totally spoiled. I mean, there was a lot of issue with insurance trying to get all of this back. But the point of this is, even if they get all the cost back from insurance, it just covers the cost. I mean, the stoppage of production, the loss, the disappointment to the customer, all of that will never be covered with this. Now, that is between Nigeria to Cameroon. Now, if you look on average from Nigeria, let's say Apapa, you want to load to Kenya. This shipment, this is the red one. It moved from Apapa to, this is the green one. It moved from Apapa all the way to Singapore in Asia. And then from Asia back to Nairobi. This took 52 days. 52 days to achieve this. This is within Africa, right? Another shipment, typical shipment that you move from Nigeria to South Africa, from Apapa to Morocco. So there are two ports within Morocco. So move from one port in Morocco to the other port, then to Al Jazeera in Spain, then all the way back to Dubai, right? Now this took 52 days. But if you look at this, it looks like it doesn't make sense. It looks like what is happening, right? But what we must realize is the designers of the shipping routes, the shipping lines, they design the routes for efficiency and they design it for volumes. They design it for the ports that are big enough to take big vessels and that are also efficient to attend to vessels on time. now. So doing that, if you take the example of the shipment that moves to Singapore, I mean, if you look at it, it passed through South Africa. It's close to Kenya. Then it went all the way to Singapore before bringing it back, because in Singapore is where they have a proper port infrastructure where they can transship. They will drop the container, then put it on a smaller vessel that probably can then come back to Nairobi to deliver this. If you look again at the case of the shipment that went to Durban, the same thing happened. This is funny because it was supposed, it went from Nigeria all the way to Northern Africa to Spain and come back, passing Nigeria again. You know, like the container is going through a water, it goes and passes and then come back to South Africa. So this is the nature of what Africa is exposed to. And that's on the side of the transit time and the movement you see. If you look at the cost itself, on the right side, the green one is the imports into Africa. This is the freight cost. What this tells us that all over the world, shipment into Africa is far more expensive than the global average. The global average is the red one, right? So we always pay more. And why is this the case? It's the case, number one, because when a shipment comes to Africa, 90% of the time it's going to go back empty. So we are not paying for the shipment to come into Africa. We are paying for it to come and return. We are paying for the delays we are going to face in Apapa port, in Durban port, in all the port, Mombasa port, all the delays, because in the end, the shipping line already knows that, okay, I will not most likely come back empty. Most likely they'll be delayed, and all of that are already factored into it. So is this fair? I mean, some people think it's not fair, like Africa is subsidizing the inefficiency of the world, but it's more like inefficiency of Africa. So number one thing is global shipping routes are designed for volume and efficiency. So if you to move from China to US is far shorter than to move from within Africa. In fact, in some cases, it's far faster to move from China to Africa than it is to move within Africa, as we have seen in this case. I've talked about dead ends and empty returns. This is because, I mean, when your shipment comes into Africa, they go back most of the time empty. And the other thing is the shipping routes are designed across for the global business, global trade. Now, African trade is on what we call the backhaul of this. It's on the backhaul because it's not designed for Africa. So the shipment is going from China, passing through the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa and getting to the other side of the world to Americas. If you are lucky and then your shipment is going along that route, that is in Africa, then it goes along that route. But if you are unlucky and it's going the other way, it goes and then come back. So it's not designed for Africa at all. Africa is on the backhaul, and that is why you see that the transit times are long and the costs are high. In fact, higher than the global average. Right, and all of this is because of the poor port infrastructure, the delays that we have, and all of that. Right, this is just some statistics to show us the size of trade that Africa does with itself and what it does with the rest of the world. If you look at Africa, it's 18%. Like Dr. Jolade said, it's less than 20%. But this number is lower than anywhere in the world. But by itself, it's not a problem. The fact that it's low is not what is the issue here. But what is even worse is the bubble we see here. I mean, 67% in Europe, 59%, 35% in Latin America, is not to scale. If we are to do this to scale, it will be more pathetic. My point is, Africa is doing 18% of what exactly? of what volume? To give a scale, intra-Asia trade alone, and I'm talking about container movement alone, within Asia, not going to other parts of the world, is 50 million TEUs, 50 million containers. Europe is 5 million containers, that is per annum within Europe. Africa, entire Africa, is 500. So it's 10%. It's not comparable. And if you're a business owner yourself, you know where the volume is. That's where you send your ship to. You don't send your ship to Africa to load and then bring back nothing. In fact, if you must go to Africa, you charge double the rate because it probably going to come back empty. And that is the reality of Africa. And in Africa itself, Nigeria is particularly low. Nigeria here on the table on the right side says 19%. But this is not, this is 19% of what you do. If what you do is already low, even your 90% is more pathetic, right? So that takes me to the next table here. This is just for Africa. Within Africa, South Africa is doing 25 to 27%.
Allow me to interrupt you again.
Sorry, engineer, the slide is not moving.
The slide is not moving. It's still on African shipping route. It's moving on your end, but can you do something? Hey, you know you are on area. It's moving.
So
now.
I'm using an hotel network, so I guess that's the problem.
Sorry.
I'm traveling, so I will just stop sharing and share again.
It's moving now.
It's moving now. Intra-continental trade.
Okay.
Because I'm enjoying the
Are you seeing the screen now, sir?
Not yet.
Not yet. We can see you, not the screen.
If you're on the WhatsApp, just send that presentation to me. I will help you present here.
Okay, that is sorry. I think that's the best thing to do. I'll just send it to.
Just send it to my WhatsApp. I will download it.
I'll just send it to you now, sir. Sorry, I really apologize for this. Don't worry. I thought the network should work very well.
What you're talking about?
Yeah.
We have some interruptions in Africa. So that's
yes, I mean, and exactly this is part of this is part of the intra-Africa issues that we have. This is talking, even though we are focusing on logistics, it's clearly part of the problems that we have. But in this case, well, I maybe understand because I'm just lodging in an hotel, so maybe their network is not designed for too much streaming. I've sent it to you, sir. So if you confirm when you get it. It might be from a different WhatsApp that you know, because that's the one I've been installed on my system.
Why you are?
Okay, so I've sent it. Hopefully, you get it soon.
Okay.
So while waiting for that, I will just. Have you seen it, sir?
Okay, I've seen it. I'll download it now.
Okay.
But while you were talking, I see that Dr. Tai is in the house. Can't get him.
Yeah, I'm here, Prof. Good evening.
Yeah. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you. I must apologize for coming late. Had some
that's beautiful.
Issues beyond my control.
I understand, sir. You are managing a lot of projects, so quitting you in here it's a big sacrifice. Why I'm battling with sending it? Let's hear your goodwill message, sir. Just take the opportunity to. We are very flexible here because we are industrial engineers. We optimize everything. So we'll listen
okay.
to Dr. Atta while I'll download something so I can share for.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate for bending over backwards to let me do this now. Well, so I will speak as if the meeting is just starting. Uh, First of all, it is my great honor that you invited me to this event, and let me extend my warmest greetings to all the distinguished personalities at this meeting. Uh, I'm delighted to be part of this, and I'm particularly excited for the opportunity to give a goodwill message at this lecture. I think it's on Intra-Africa trade and logistics. Of course, this is a core issue at the heart of Africa's economic transformation. I've been listening to the lecture, and I understand the issues, the difficulties and challenges that we face as a continent. Well, this concept of intra-Africa trade is to collect Africa's fragmented market into a single continental market that creates an environment for business and consumers to really access or connect rather across the continent, of course, with the sole objective of accelerating economic integration and building a common market while reducing poverty and economic vulnerability. This is a bold and necessary approach towards shaping the economic future and fostering sustainable development in Africa. I mean, we're all aware that Nigeria's participation in intra-Africa trade logistics is strategic given our location and logistic corridors. But of course, there are just so many challenges. In a recent report by the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, the Nigerian Port Authority stated that Nigeria handles over 80% of West Africa's trade volume. Statistics such as these underscore Nigeria's critical role in shaping trade dynamics within the sub-region. In other words, the effectiveness of Nigeria's logistics infrastructure directly impacts the movement of goods and services across the sub-region. We therefore recognize the pressing need for trade facilitation reforms and the modernization and digitization of our customs operations to address existing bottlenecks, reduce delays and costs for businesses engaged in both local and international trade. Well, I commend the Department of Industrial and Production Engineering at University of Ibadan and her Alumni Association for creating these invaluable opportunities for dialogue. This endeavor is critical not only for Nigeria's economic future, but for the advancement of the African continent as a whole. I am optimistic that this will be one of many productive sessions that will inspire innovative ideas and collaborative solutions. Well, I know the program has started, so I look forward to the remaining part of the presentation. And I thank you for the opportunity for me to give this goodwill message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Engineer Abadejo, I think I will now be helping you to move as you want me to move. When I'll be looking at what you are presenting, I'll be moving for you. You can continue.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, so I mean, we are talking about the percentage of exports in each of the continents and what they do within in the continent, intra-continent Africa. And I was explaining that for Africa, it's only 18%, right? But if you compare with what you've got in Asia, it's 59%, 67% in Europe, and 40% in North America. Right? But also go further to say 18% itself is probably not the problem here, because if you are looking at 80% of a bigger pile, then it's going to be commendable. But in this case, we are looking at 18% of a very small number itself. So looking at 18% of Africa does 800 million export, $800 billion export, $900 billion import. So if you look at it, it's sort of balanced. So we are doing a good business as Africa in terms of export and import. But the issue is this is pathetically low compared to what the other continents are doing. So you see, Asia, for example, in terms of number of container movement alone, is 50 million TEUs. 50 million. Africa is doing 500,000. So that comparison, and then we are now saying 18% of this is what you are doing with yourself. It means it's just non-existent. Now, talking about Nigeria in this particular case, also Nigeria is doing 19%. South Africa, 27% of the entire intra-Africa trade, right? But what is more pathetic is the volume Nigeria is doing. I mean, Nigeria is 19%. You will say, oh, 19%, that is even above Cote d'Ivoire, is above Egypt, is above Kenya. But in terms of the value itself, sir, if you move to the next slide, sir. Yes, if you look at the number itself, you see why South Africa is doing almost $30 billion. Nigeria is doing 5.6. So that is not just a game of, it's not about percentage at all. It's the volume. The volume needs to grow. You should not worry too much about the percentage. The volume needs to grow. I mean, the Africa needs to grow what we do with ourselves, with what we do with the rest of the world. Next slide, sir. Okay. Now, if you look deeply into the issues we have identified, it's more like a vicious cycle, right? And one of the reasons, like I said, is poor infrastructure. You've got the ports that cannot undo big vessels. And because they cannot undo big vessels, the economy of scale is not there. And because apart from not being able to undo big vessels, they are it's costly to run a port in Nigeria or in Africa generally, because it's the cost of power, the cost of moving machineries that are not in Africa down there. It's significantly more complicated running ports in Africa. So it's not efficient. And what this means is the vessels that will come to Africa are vessels that are not able to maximize. So these are vessels maybe that we're doing 2,000, 10,000. You can't have those doing 25,000 upward because they cannot bet in our port. This means then our export through African port is low. And because it's low, it's going to be at high cost. And that's exactly what we see. We also see that because you do not have volumes going back, your freight is going to be high. So import into Africa is subsidizing for the rest of the world, is subsidizing for the export. And even at that, it's higher than the global average, like we saw in the other chart. And what this then translates into is that you don't get cost efficiency in Nigeria, in Africa, I mean, because landing in Africa, your landed cost is already expensive. So to even export, you are not going to be competitive, because most manufacturing in Nigeria are still dependent on input materials. And these are landing at high cost. You will not be competing with companies from other parts of the world. And if I give an example, same company, office in Nigeria, office in Vietnam, office in Spain. And then in Nigeria, you see that you have you need to scale out, and you set up an office in Ghana. Then when you try to sell to Ghana from Nigeria, you quickly realize that your landed is far cheaper for you to go to Vietnam and bring the product and sell to Ghana than for you to sell from Nigeria. And because of that, the export is just not encouraged. So what this means then is you are going to have less and less exports. So it's efficient, and because you have less exports, you are not going to be able to attract the right investment into Africa to then develop the poor infrastructure. I mean, to then develop what you have to be able to attend to bigger volume, because even if you have big volume, you'll not be able to maximize the use if the volumes, your product are not competitive with that of the rest of the world. And that, of course, continues like that. So the question we should ask ourselves is, where do we then break this chain? Something needs to give, because poor infrastructure will continue to lead to high cost. High cost means you are not efficient. You are not efficient means you cannot do export. You cannot do export means you cannot attract investment. Something then, how do we then break this? And this is the question we need to ask ourselves. This is what we need to find a solution to, because the problem is clear. What is not clear is how do we move from here. Next slide, sir. Okay. Now, there's the African Continental Trade Agreement, which to my mind is making a lot of progress. And it's something I think all of us should support and at least show interest in, because it's the key to at least improve intra-Africa trade. And over the years, the progress have been made. I mean, this idea started sometime early in the 20s, and now one of the plan is to 30 million people out of extreme poverty. That's as stated in the charter of AFCTA. $450 billion income gain by 2035, 80% increase in intra-Africa trade, and 54 countries already signed this, 40 has ratified it. And in 2021, they actually commenced pilot trade. So you already see South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria join now, are doing pilot trade. But if you look at this, it's so slow from what you will expect for an idea that have started since 2014, 2018, now 2021, everybody started. It's only trial. Nigeria has probably done only 2 shipments as a trial. There are so many companies that are willing to plug into this, but even the bureaucracy of understanding, the sending the document, getting what they call proof of origin, it's slowing a lot of people down, such that you start to worry that, oh, maybe this is going to be another Vision 2020 or another MDG goal, or those lofty plans that never come to fruition. But as a concept, this is something that should be interesting for Africa. It's something that probably can deliver the intra-Africa trade that we talk about. Next slide, sir. Okay. One of the, looking at the issues in Africa, one of the things we look at, I look at and try to come up with is, look, if you go by value chain, if you look at automotive, for example, South Africa has a very strong automotive industry, right? But they are still importing within Africa. Let's look at Africa generally, right? So the automotive industry, 85% is imported from the rest of the world to us. 14% of automotive is manufactured within Africa, and mostly South Africa, right? Now, what is stopping us from, manufacturing this locally within Africa and distributing? One of the things is, you see, 50% of what is imported of the cars in Africa today are used vehicles. And because they are used vehicles, this competes with local manufacturing, and that reduces the ability of countries like South Africa to develop this going forward, right? And apart from that, there's serious logistics challenge and trade block challenge with moving shipment from South Africa to even West Africa. It's far cheaper for you to bring a car from Dubai, for example. I'm talking about new cars now, not even used car, from Dubai compared to bringing from South Africa, despite that these cars are manufactured within Africa. Even Kenya has a very good automotive industry, but still it's difficult. Even within Kenya, there's a lot more of import compared to the locally produced automobile. And that's, of course, because these are far more expensive, compared to imported used vehicles that Africa is able to purchase. The other thing, if you look at our second line, if you look at agro processing, a sample of fish, 78% is produced and consumed within Africa. From the rest of the world, we still do 16% of that. And within Africa, it's another 6%. And the issue here is we can do a lot more than what we are doing in the fish industry. But the problem is the high cost of feed. I mean, feed for agro processing like fish is still imported, right? And it's landing at a very high cost, thereby making fish processing more expensive, such that we cannot even start to think about export to other parts of the world. Same thing with agro-meat and pharmaceuticals. I mean, pharmaceutical is, it's basically, you see that it's lack of market at scale. There are so many, for you to be able to break even and make proper profit in pharmaceuticals, the scale needs to be there. What we see now in Nigeria is different regions competing with themselves, such that at the end of the day, none of this region is competitive enough to then be able to compete with what is coming from China or Europe or the rest of the world. Next slide. Okay, I mean, this 2x2 matrix is just to place the value chain item so we can see, okay, if Africa is to improve in terms of our intra-Africa trade, where should we focus, or where can we focus and probably get more out of? First is on the left side is not produced in Africa already, and it's low or high in terms of the value of the import from the rest of the world. So if you look at mobile phone, for example, the value is so in terms of what is produced, what is imported into Africa, and it's not significantly being produced in Africa. And if you look at phone technology itself, you see that there's really no reason why this cannot be produced in Africa, except at scale, except that if you be competing with the rest of the world, and then you won't be competitive. On the right side, it's things that are produced in Africa, and it's of low value to export to the rest of the to the world, right? And that is like horticulture, like fruit. A lot of this happen within Africa, increasing existing intra-Africa trade of specific goods. The other one is substitute of import from outside of Africa with goods already produced in Africa. Number one of this is like vehicles, like I mentioned. Vehicle is produced in Africa, produced in South Africa at some scale, right? But it's if we focus on this, for example, because the value is high and it's already produced in Africa, and these are areas where you can easily start to do something and see the impact. So as pointed out, some of the issues here is the within Africa competitions, right? So you especially when you look at Southern Africa, you see a lot of automobile manufacturers in Africa, and they are struggling to export within Africa. They are struggling to export, not because they are not competitive inside of South Africa, but by the time it crosses the border to go to other country, the tariff itself becomes totally unbearable. Meanwhile, bringing these cars, some of them, into South Africa because of the trade block they are in, make it even cheaper to land in Africa. And these are some of the things that AFTA seeks to correct and improve going forward. Next slide. Okay, so a few recommendations here, and I think it's obvious from what the issues are. Number one is there's need for massive investments in the integrated logistics in Africa, and this is, I'm talking about the ports, I'm talking about the cross-border road, because in Africa there are still over 19 countries that are landlocked. Even if you develop the ports and the ports are efficient, to transport to these landlocked countries, you still need to develop the road. You still need to make your cross-border logistics very efficient. And that's why you see efficient border control. Border control is probably one of the biggest issues. Even if you accept the cost of transport, it's okay, I'll move my shipment from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire by road, which you can do, which is fast. but the border control issues make it such an equivalent tax. So you see a shipment from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire may be spending 2 weeks for something that can go and come back in 3 to 4 days. The other idea here is regionalization of key value chain trade. So, and this is not something one country can decide on its own, but this is the essence of AU, this essence of AFCTA. If we look at Africa and say, okay, instead of Africa competing with itself, Africa can agree and say, West Africa, it's better placed and will be more competitive in producing this value chain item compared to South Africa or East Africa or Central Africa for that matter. And then we can agree that let's produce this and the rest of Africa consume from here. And we structure our tariff regime to ensure that it favors within Africa over import into Africa from other nations. And the last thing I will say here is African leaders and policymakers need to encourage and actually embark on a massive campaign to encourage made in Africa products, to encourage us to be proud to buy made in Africa, one, and to also encourage the actual production in Africa. And this is something that needs to be done at regional level, at a country level, so that because this it's a big opportunity that is not there at the moment right now. So thank you. This is what I have to share, and I hope we are able to pick one or two things from this. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. This is great.
Thank you so much, Engineer Ralph, for that wealth of knowledge you've shared with us tonight. I believe we've been able to pick one or two things from that. Before we go tonight, I would quickly call on the chairman for his remarks as regards the lecture tonight. Professor S.O. Ismaila, please, your remarks to the lecture just delivered, sir.
Thank you very much. That was an insightful lecture by Engineer Badejo. Thank you very much for that insightful lecture. So, ladies and gentlemen, and we are getting close to the end of today's lecture. I think we should also look at some of those things that have insight that we have shared together with the guest lecturer. He has been able to have found that logistics is not really just about moving goods, but also about our ability to be able to move Africa forward. And we have been able to concentrated or confronted with some hard realities. And that is that more than 60% of African trades costs is actually from logistics inefficiencies. And most of our trucks spend weeks at the borders while we have perishable goods that are spoiled. And that is costing billions of naira on an annual basis. So what do we do now? One is that technology should be a descriptor for transparency and speed. There's need for collaboration among the governments, as well as for us to be able to modernize our infrastructure. And then this political will to be able to implement what the AFCTA protocols deserve. We need to have that political will to be able to implement that. So for everyone that is here in the room, I think we should be able to take this idea away from where we are in this room and advocate for a lot of policy reforms. We also need to look at our supply chain resilience, invest heavily in that, partnerships across our borders, so that Nigerian or Africa generally can be so much connected and it will be in our hands. So I want to extend my deepest gratitude to our brilliant speaker who has been able to engage our audience and the organizers too. Together, we are not just observer of history, we are also the architect of history. So let us live today with renewed commitment that we want to turn intra-Africa trade from a promise to a prosperity. And the time to start that action, I think, is now. So I want to thank you all again for having the time to be at this forum. And I wish that we have taken one or two things away from today's lecture. So thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We deeply appreciate it. I quickly want to move on to our special guest of honor, the chairman of Gaskia Media Limited, Chief Dare Babani, sir, for his remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Well, first and foremost, I align with the statement made by the chairman. And I also want to thank Engineer Badejo for making us to think. His lecture is very sobering. It shows that while the rest of the world while they are manufacturing goods in Asia and Europe and the Americas, Africans are manufacturing poverty by not getting their logistics correct. So Africa is the richest continent in the world, inhabited by the poorest people in the world. So this is a contradiction that we need to solve. So I hope that this lecture will be made available to us in e-copy so that we can send it to those who are in authority and they need to do something about it. Our forefathers did not allow borders. So we should now think about what we can do to also make our people to trade seamlessly, so that when you take your good from Lagos, you can get to Ghana the same day. You can get to Abidjan the same day. You don't need to be stopped in 100 places before, and then you spend so many days on the road. So this is a lot of things for us to learn. So I thank Engineer Badejo. I thank the organizer of this forum. I consider myself privileged to have spent valuable time to learn from those who know a lot about our continent. Thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Thank you so much, sir. Really, really appreciate that. Please, if you have any question, you can put it in the chat for the guest speaker to react to, and you can also indicate by raising up your hand using the emojis in the chat room. All right, quickly, we want to move on to our special guest of honor, Dr. Joshua Atta, for his remarks once again. Dr. Joshua Atta.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Once again, I thank you for inviting me to this program, and I'm glad that I was able to participate, even though not from the beginning, but I have also learned a lot from my participation today. Like I said earlier, it is a very rich lecture that should continue, and perhaps maybe we can work together to bring in more audience to participate in this. I'm glad that you recorded it also. I hope that this can be made available, maybe on YouTube or somewhere, where over time people can listen to the lecture all over again. Thank you once again, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, sir, once again for joining. The next person I will call is Dr. Jelabi for his remarks also. Over to you, sir.
Thank you once again. Engineer Badejo, you have made my evening worthwhile. And I really want to thank you for that presentation. One thing I would like to say is to the department. It's what you have. This kind of a discourse is very, very important, but they are not a way whereby every month we hold this kind of discourse, we're able to issue something like policy or statement that can influence policies. For example, there can be publications every month. Let me start from here. What he has shared with us is mind-boggling. You look at those statistics, you look at those logistics, you look at how, just like the chairman said, or the special guest of honor, how we are building poverty for ourselves, rich but living in poverty. Now, is there a way that we can have series of publication? We own this lecture as a department, as a university. You own the lecture, and then you push it out like a kind of a policy statement that is coming from the academia. This is a way whereby the university can have influence and impact on the policies, on the politics, on the economy of our nation. We are not just looking at this as a talk show. And the few of us that are here, yes, we can do a lot, but I think there is a way we should push this out to the society so that people can begin to see why we are where we are today. They can begin to see why are we not going forward. This policy, like he said, is the pilot experiment is too slow. Why is it slow? Are the leaders not committed to it? African leaders, are they not committed to this? Is there anything that they are benefiting from it personally that is making them not to be committed to it? Because if we see something that can liberate Africa from poverty and lift millions of people out of poverty, why are our leaders slow at pursuing it? Don't we have the political will? Are we not there to be able to? Are they not able to make policies that will influence this kind of trade, so that Africa can come together, unite together, and bring ourselves out of this poverty and enjoy the riches that we have: human resources, material resources, vast resources, and yet millions of Africa are living below the poverty level. So I think the department should start thinking, or should put something into action. Like we said, we need to take action. And that is where I stand with the presenter at the department. So once again, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. You have made my evening very beautiful, and I thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that goodwill message. We'll just take one more before we go into questions and other comments, before we call it an evening. I want to call on Professor Ayodeji Oluleye for his remarks.
Well,
he's our father in the department. So, over to
yeah,
you, sir.
can I?
Yes, go ahead.
My video, yeah, okay. Okay, let me say good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Want to particularly thank our chairman, Professor Ismaila, and the guest of honor. When I saw the name of Chief Larry Babarisa, I say, how did it happen? Well, I'm connecting the dots. He's our big brother. Thank you, sir, once again. I remember when we had a conference in Lagos many years back now. You were also there. Thank you, sir. Also like to thank Dr. Ojelabi and Dr. Atta for coming on board to share with us their experience. And I think everybody who has spoken today has spoken what, rules Africa. We are so rich, yet so poor, because of a lack of will and probably selfish agenda and all that. And if only we could band together and work together, then a lot will happen amongst us. I must also thank Raouf Badejo. I went into my email box and you won't believe it, I saw Raouf Systems. I hope you remember that when you used to work on some things.
Yes, sir.
And the interesting thing is that I looked at some of the mails you shared with me as far back as 2007. That's about how many years back now? And what I'm happy about today, very happy about, is that you have weaved together your interest with your ability. Even as far back as 2007, the jobs you were sending to my box to say this job is completed is what you are doing today on a big scale. So it's good to see you at the top, and I wish you all the best. Thank you for the very interesting lecture. It's a big challenge to all of us. We're so rich, we can do so much amongst ourselves, but we're doing so little. And then to the HOD who has put this all together and the other officials, in the department, we say thank you for making 34 months of no stopping. And the way say no shaking also. So thanks, and to the staff of the department and all those, the contact team. Thank you very much. Wish everybody that we can pick up the gauntlet. Actually, it's a challenge to all of us. Everywhere we find ourselves, let's make the difference. Thank you, and I wish you all the best. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Prof. I don't know if anyone has any question. I can see one hand raised earlier. I want to be sure it's still here. Engineer Afolabi Babani, sir. Don't know if he's still there. Okay. All right. Engineer Afolabi Babani, sir, please can you unmute? You raised your hand earlier.
Oh, I have now unmuted. Thank you very much, Prof. I have to give really thanks to the head of department and the professional organizers of this program. Like this has been said for years, for months, this thing has been going on. It's wonderful that we have not even missed a single month. Again, I would like to thank Professor Lule, who happened to be one of my lecturers. When we came in as youngsters in industrial engineering, it was very tough, difficult, but we all pushed out. Professor Lule, I thank you so much. What you guys did in my life, I will never forget it. You made me to graduate when I was actually sinking. God will continue to bless you. Chief Dari Babarinsa is my brother. He did a lot of wonderful things in my life. Not only my life, a lot of people. He's a helper. When you have problem, he comes in like he's doing it for himself. So many people rose under him to become stars. Thank you, sir. God will help you. God will continue to protect you and your family in Jesus Christ. So where I am going actually is this. I discovered that from this program, the presenter has really done a wonderful thing. He has done a very, very wonderful program. He mentioned a lot of things. From where he mentioned it, he's also an industrial engineer. He said, IE is doing underground work against poverty that has always been targeting Africans. This is very true. Now, Dari Babarisa said, technology is breaking down the boundary, the boundary of the world. This is also very true. Dr. Badijo, you have really done well by letting us know all this. And I pray that Africa and African people inside Africa will come back together, go to a kind of serious table and change our behaviors. We continue to do the same thing from year to year, from time to time, and they always result into failure. My take is that what can we do as professionals to change the mindset of our leaders in the world of Africa? If the mindset that is always been negative is not changed to positivity, we cannot move forward. That is my big question. What can we do? How do we start? I have said it one time that industrial engineering has what it takes to do this. We are already coming out, but we have to come out loud. And those industrial fathers of industrial engineering in Nigeria, it's not time for you to showcase exactly what you are. I know that there was a time I was reading it when Abacha and all the rest of all those big politicians and so on were destroying this country. The UIIE came strong. They were about to do it, but the politics beat them down. So now we have another opportunity. Can we start? Can we do it? Can we move on? Those are my questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for your thoughts. I believe Engineer Raouf is also listening. Just to add to that, probably quickly respond to that before, and he gives us his closing remarks tonight. My question is this: that how do we, beyond policy, as engineers, industrial engineers, engineer a system that can improve intra-Africa trade beyond policy? We know policy is one, and from your recommendation, what would be the lowest hanging fruit for governments to begin to implement to improve intra-Africa trade, sir? So over to you, Engineer Raouf. Engineer Babarisa's question too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think one thing that is very instructive is every company, everyone must do what is in their capacity to improve their own economic condition, right? And I've seen this in many cases. I've been in a company where we have to take a decision on whether we should develop Africa or we should move our investment somewhere outside of Africa. And it's simple, at the end of the day, we are engineers and we are a global citizen, even though we are African. So when you look at it, if I put an investment of this amount in Nigeria, this is the return on investment. This is the payback period. If it doesn't pay, you don't do it. And you cannot do it because you are not government. You can only do your part. So my point is, it has to make economic sense for you to, especially to put investors' money on any project. And as a company, as individual, there's little that you can do. If you go to a bank and you get a loan to do a business and you don't return profit, you are in soup. So you go where you can return profit. So, for example, a company that sits in Nigeria and trying to set up in Ghana and look at exporting from Nigeria to Ghana, and it's far more expensive and less profitable than coming from Vietnam. They won't do it. They won't do it. And they won't do it because they like Africa. They won't do it because of that. Every business is set up to make profits. So that is why trade facilitation is beyond individual. Trade facilitation is beyond individual. The best we can do is to then lobby government, for people that know people in the high places, for people that have in organization that can pressure government to actually walk the talk, to then step in and say, okay, this is what we need to do, right? And this is the big picture. That is the only way. As an individual, you cannot put your investment, you can't put money from the banks or investors into a public project. I mean, you cannot, for example, I give an example, the road is bad. I mean, you cannot go through the road. What you can do, and what we have done in many cases, for example, I mean, I work with a company that is developing a road in Aba, for example. And what we are doing, because of the scheme with the government, is fix the road. You make it more tolerable for yourself and for the community. But the federal government then takes that off the tax you are supposed to pay. So this is one initiative that the government has put in place. But this is also limited. I mean, you can do it in your community where your company operates, but you cannot go outside and say, okay, the Lagos-Ibadan road is not good, I want to fix it. Or the Badagry Express. These are projects for nationals. It's not for companies, they are for government to handle. So my point is, there's limits to what you can do, except you have big pockets like the Dangotes, and then you can then invest and then recoup your investment with arrangement with the government. But so I kind of missed the first question, so I don't know if it can be repeated or if it's already answered.
I think it's that goes well with the two questions. Okay. All right. Your closing thoughts, sir, for tonight. Your closing remarks.
Number one, I really like to appreciate everyone and the department, especially for organizing this. I think it's something that's really worthwhile, and I think we should do more of encouraging people and to do this, to attend and see what we can give back to the department. And for example, myself, I've not been attending this, but after I was contacted, I said, oh, this is a big opportunity. This is something that we should encourage and we should do more of this. And I think I see that many of the other videos are also available on YouTube, which I think is a very good and laudable things that we should do. I think we can take it further, like has been suggested by other people. So it's not just a talk show, right? There's something we can extract and maybe publish from all the lectures, and then we can benefit the department from there and benefit the community as well. Thank you, everyone. That's my closing remark.
Thank you so much, Engineer Raouf Badejo, for your lecture tonight. It's been refreshing, and you really made our evening tonight. I want to call on Dr. Kolawole for the vote of thanks tonight. Dr. Kolawole, please, over to you, sir, for the vote of thanks.
Good evening once again, everyone from Nigeria. Good morning, afternoon, other part of the world. Again, we want to appreciate everyone for this another lecture that we have had today, which have gone successfully. We want to thank especially all our guests. Though one way or the other, people have thanked you, but formally we must also thank you for being part of today's program. Right from our chairman, Professor Ismaila. Professor Ismaila. Thank you for being part of today's program. Well, you have come home. You are an alumnus of this department, so we are proud of you. Thank you for honoring this meeting. We also want to thank our special guest of honor, Chief Dari Babarisa. Well, all of us have been hearing of you over the years. Thank you for making out time for today's lecture. We know people like you are always very busy here and there. There are many calls, but you seem to make it available. Make yourself available to attend this class, this lecture, and for your remarks. We want to thank you and appreciate your coming. I want to thank Dr. Joshua Atatu for eventually squeezing up himself to be here. Thank you, sir. I pray that we're going to have more interaction together. I want to thank Dr. Jelabi, who's very close to us in the department, in our relationship with what we work. Thank you, sir, for making yourself available and for your remarks. Well, we believe that we'll take further action more than what we just do before. What you have told us is very important. I'm sure the head of departments and the engagement team that organized this program will begin to look toward that direction, that we need to maybe sort of communicate that can be given out at the end of this, at the end of our series, maybe on quarterly basis or annually, we can make a formal booklet for it. I think the department will be looking towards that. Thank you, sir. I want to thank the moderator and the guest speaker himself, Engineer Raouf Badijo. Well, it was like if when we told you we are going to do this lecture to us, how it's going to be. But eventually, what we have delivered today, someone who has opportunity to read took a lot of time to prepare. I'm not sure we have done better. So thank you for your insightful lecture that everyone have seen, that definitely something needed to be done concerning our land and policymakers in this country, so to focus rightly on the right thing. And we also thank our Shivabarisa, who has said that this lecture can be taken to the right quarters. And I'm sure with his influence, something will come out of this. So I want to thank you, Badijo, for giving us this lecture. Everybody is overwhelmed with some of the things we are seeing, and then we hope that definitely something good will come out of it at the end of the day. We want to thank all our participants, many people who are seeing that we will not be able to recognize, but I want to thank you especially for making out time today. And all those who have attended, I'm sure in one way or the other, we have got information, we are enlightened, and perhaps it can push us to do something in our own quarter, wherever we have area of influence. That's one of the things that we are looking forward to. So I want to thank my head of department, who has been very, very, I don't know how to put it, determined to make sure that this lecture goes on. Sometimes not easy, but he always fight to make sure it goes on. I want to thank our moderator, Engineer Padari, who is also one of the people behind the scene, the engagement team, who always work on that to ensure that we have a beautiful lecture. So, in closing, I want to say thank you all, and we look forward to another lecture series next month. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Maz, for joining us tonight. The 35th lecture series will be coming up next month, and the title is From Efficiency to Equity: How Industrial Engineers Can Win Big in the Financial Markets, and that will be taken by Dr. Kende. Please keep a date with us. It's on Friday, August 8th, and we hope to see you once again. Please, this lecture, so that it gets to all the necessary stakeholders that needs this for making better policies as far as logistics and intra-Africa trade is concerned. Thank you all for being here from all over the world. Thank you for making our time to be with us at the 34th Alumni Lecture Series. Our special guest of honor, our chairman, everyone, thank you once again. Our speaker, thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us tonight. And we want to say thank you all. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Nice to see everybody.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye bye. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes, sir.